Hey everybody, it's Adrian, and back to give you a recap of another business podcast I saw of an entrepreneur, female entrepreneur by the name of Ariel Pryor on the Let's Try This Again podcast with B Simone. And I saw this little snippet pop up, and it was a really quick. And the first thing it said was she was 22 years old and already a millionaire. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, like I'm gonna have to check this out. So her name is Ariel Pryor. By the time she was 21, she was a millionaire and she was selling digital products. She is on Instagram and all of the social medias, of course, and she has 1.2 million followers. She said by the age of 8, mind you, she was born in 2003. Okay, so literally the same age as my son. Um, by the age of 8, she had already had social media. So she knew how all that stuff worked. Um, but the thing is the drive, right? So by the time she was 20, 21, she has started using certain sites to sell like digital products, right? So she was already doing that. And then she made use of like Alibaba, things like that, as soon as she could get on and do that. And I think that was even earlier than 21. By the time she got into selling the digital products, though, everything took off. And her story was super compelling because I'm thinking, oh my gosh, at 22, and everybody talks about this generation and um, the lack of the drive and all this other stuff. And of course, it doesn't pertain to everybody in that generation, right? But to have that already going for you at the age of 22, and she's already evolving her business into something else. And outside of digital products, she's moving into implementation products or something like that. Um, but her hustle came from her upbringing, which was not the best. She was raised on the south side of Chicago. She's got, I think, four other siblings or three other siblings. And by the time she was 12, she was already trying to find a job. And she doesn't go into super detail. Mind you, all of the stuff is on, I think she has a YouTube or her Instagram talks about her background quite a bit too. So, of course, so they struggle. They were raised poor, they struggled. She mentions being in a two-bedroom apartment with 10 people, right? And so the drive and the hustle was there to have more, to be more. She started dancing on a dance team when she was a teenager, right? And the first job she asked for was the person who was leading the dance team had the dance team, and they also had like another business. And she was just saying, you know what, I'll just sweep floors. Can you just pay me to sweep floors? Because she wanted to have her own money to be able to, support herself. And that kind of hustle just comes from deep down and within a whole nother place, right? If you have not struggled, if you haven't been in a place to not have, um, I talk about this with other people all the time. Like, how do you find that drive? There was another lady that another coach. She coaches corporate. I think I want to say her name is Liz J. Simpson, and she went to college, everything, ended up being a single mom, was in a I want to say abusive relationship, runs a multi-million dollar company now, right? After working in industry and developing her, expertise from there, and went on to build this huge empire because it's just her, and now she's got to support her daughter, and that drive to move on and hustle. And so I always think about that, what the hustle. You don't want to stay in this constant drive, this need, this want, gotta have, survival mode, which is what it almost is, right? Especially for someone in her, from her upbringing, right? All of us have some type of upbringing to where either you completely had everything, um, or you're part of the have-nots, right? I mean, me and my own family, we were not raised rich. We were not even be considered middle class, right? And so there's things that when I was growing up and started working, and you're happy to have your own money, and it was like, I've got to have a home, I've got to have this, or I want to be able to take trips. And then getting to that point and thinking that you've somewhat made it. Um, but to the point of Carla the other day on Mel Robbins' podcast, there's no arriving, there's no ever making it, and you can get comfortable in that, but you're not going to sustain that, right? So when does that hustle kick in so you can continue to evolve? You evolve out of having this day-to-day regular job, right, into building something that's bigger, that's greater, something that's going to create a legacy, something um, that you're going to have on your own, and you're not really doing it for somebody else. You're doing it for yourself, right? So at 12, she's looking for her first job. By the time she's 15, 16, and again, there's all this on her Instagram. Like I went and devoured it after seeing her on this show because I was just so in awe of what she had done and built by this time, this young age of 22. Um, and she started doing hair. And I want to say, what, she was 16, 17 doing hair, and then ended up opening her own salon. And it's just like, where do you get that deep down hustle? And I think it's because of the lack of having. But how do you get that if you're not from that upbringing, right? If you're not constantly in survival mode, if you're not constantly into, um, I know there's more out there, and what's out there for you to have is just within your reach, but you really have to kick in that drive to go get it. She mentioned, oh my goodness, so many things on the podcast that was like just really noteworthy, right? Got my handy dandy notebook. Let me see. She said, so she's a speaker. So she goes around doing speaking engagements. She sells her digital products. She's going into her implementation products now. But she is a devout Christian. And she said that was one of the things that really drives her, um, too, is because she knows that the things that are out there, um, that are within her reach and what she deserves, and that she just knows in her heart of hearts and from that conversation with God that that's what's out there for her. She knows she deserves it. She believes she can have it. And a lot of that comes with that conversation and connection that she has with her faith and with God. And so she is just 100% going for it, all in. And to hear her speak so confidently and matter of fact, like, why aren't you doing it, sis? Like, you're like, I don't know. Um, but it was awesome. Another thing she said was because of her living situation, right? So at 17, she moved out. I want to say she said 17 or 18. Um, she moved out, and she said that was the first time she had her own room, which in a lot of cases, um, that's what happens, right? I mean, I think I was 12 or 13 when I had my own first room. No, I take that back. I think I was like 10. I was like 10. Um, when I had my own first my own room, but that fluctuated in and out throughout, the time. I was growing up for a little bit there, just with other family members moving in and stuff like that. And so, when she said that, that kind of resonated with me, right? I wasn't 17, I was younger, but just that desire as a young woman wanting to have your own space. And that was the first time she had it at 17 when she moved out because she opened her own salon. Another thing she had mentioned was that she moved from Chicago down to Miami once her business really started going and flourishing. And she mentioned that going back to Chicago and seeing people, because she was doing a documentary, that it was really hard to see people in the same space, right? The same kid that she saw in high school, standing outside a liquor store, was still doing his day to day, standing outside that liquor store, hustling, trying to sell whatever it was, CDs, cigarettes, whatever, but just looked older and had a beard and his hair changed. Like that was it. Um, you know, and she talked about moving out of that type of space, right? When you think about crabs in a barrel, right? You put a bunch of crabs in a barrel, they're all trying to climb out. During the time that they're trying to climb out, they're pulling the other ones down or climbing up on their backs to get out. And that happens a lot when you're in a situation to where people see you climbing and starting to get out. They're going to look at you crazy. They're going to think you're better than, or you act like you're better than, just because you're growing and evolving out of that space, right? Which can happen in your family, with your friends, in the workspace. Um, and she said that was a real mentality. So she, with moving away, and so she didn't see her family, she didn't see, her friends and things like that. And she said she missed them, but she knew actually getting out of that space is what was going to open her mind and open her growth so that she can continue doing what she was doing without the distractions. Um, so if you get a chance to go check her out, it is Ariel Prior. And she's got some other stuff coming up right now. I will put some info down below and the name of the podcast that B Simone is doing, and it was called "Let's Try This Again." I think it's LTTA, but you can catch it on all of those. She was really speaking, not even so much during the episode about her business, as much as she was speaking about being able to mentally get into the space to create and develop and grow from her very humble upbringings. And there's a lot of people who have that mentality or have that hustle and have that drive that can get out of those spaces. But then there's even more. I mean, for the one, there's probably 20 that are still sitting in that space. And the importance of getting out of that environment, um, really, really made sense because of just seeing people in the same space day to day will, it can be discouraging. It can absolutely be discouraging because people also tell you that you can't do it just because they're not even trying to do it, right? Um, so that really made me think about, how do you get into the mindset of pushing through when you don't have those main obstacles to overcome, right? So the obstacle of actually needing a place to live, needing, um, food or a car or things like that, right? Um, and it's amazing how that works, and Like we always say, faith without works is dead. So she put in the work. She talks about the amount of time she works. She is working every single day to build this business and to make it develop into other things. And I don't know how she did it in like a year or two. They didn't get that far into the business. So I'm going to do some more digging and see what's going on with that. Um, she wasn't necessarily an overnight success because she had been working in different things here, but I don't know what took her from the 1 year to the next and making the $1 million. So I'm going to find that out. But the constant need to keep working is just ingrained in her from that background of not having. So how do you get there when you don't have, like I said, the obstacles to overcome? Um, when you are comfortable in your regular everyday workspace, you don't need, you are, you have a roof over your head, you have food, everybody's well taken care of, you have health insurance. And this is a conversation that we've had like a couple times. I've had it with my husbands. I've had it with um did I say husband? Husband. I only have one, y'all. But friends, and even coworkers, because I'm sure if you've seen it in the spaces to where you've seen women get into organizations and just constantly keep moving up, and that drive and that hustle to get there. And oftentimes, when I've spoken to these women, it's been they just went through a divorce. They need to take care of their kids, right? Um, they just moved there. Most of the time, they were taking care of their children or in a space to where financially they needed to only take care of themselves. And that's how they were going to get it, right? And they knew that was moving up was how they were going to make more money. Um, so developing that drive to where your hustle or side hustle, right? I don't want to say side hustle because literally back in the day when you said somebody had a side hustle, that hustle was literally extra money. It was needed. It wasn't a hobby. Put it that way. The way they make it sound, it wasn't a hobby. It wasn't a, ooh, let's do this and see if it can come off. No, these were real jobs or real side hustles that people were creatively doing to make money and make ends meet. So I don't even want to say a side hustle. I want to say your evolution into your next business or your next big thing, right? That product that you're selling. A lot of people took off during COVID because of what? It was a need. There was a lack of. People were losing jobs just like they are now. And this is 100% a time to dig in, do it consistently, and keep moving. Um, so when there's no lack, right, you have to treat what you're doing as an entirely separate job. It's not a hobby. You're not going to turn it off and get back to it later, like so many of us do. You have to keep grinding every day to get to the next level. There's a huge movement right now with um what was it called? Like I can't remember the girl's name, but the how to yak or using your yap or something like that every day. All of the movements to post constantly for 30 days or post constantly for 100 days, post videos every day for 100 days with Glow Atonmo. Love her. Huge shout out to her, who has this awesome program right now teaching you how to do that. Um, but on every level, even before this new movement, the level was consistency. And I'm really glad this is coming up for me right now because, half the time following your own advice is the hardest. So getting back in here, doing the videos, doing the posts, doing the emails, trying to create something else. Um, is really motivating that drive to really want to do this every day. And so kicking it in gear when you're tired, when you've just gotten done cooking, right? Like I literally just got done cooking dinner and eating, and said, "Hey, time out. I got to go do a video." So it works if you work it, and that would probably be the biggest takeaway for me after watching that video. Right? She had the desire. She knew she was built for more. I think we all take a look at things and go, okay, yeah, we know we can do it. We know we can get there. But then it's a matter of actually staying consistent and doing it. So, what I got from her video was not only, wow, what she did was absolutely amazing, but out of that drive and that need of having to fulfill that, how do you do that on your own terms? How do you turn that drive and that motivation, that hustle into your own terms, or like Simon Sinek would say, your why, right? We know that's her why. She was living in poverty. There was a lack of money. There was all kinds of things. And at an early age, it clicked for her to, hey, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do it on my own terms and I'm going to do it now. Forget the step ladders of I'm going to get this job. I'm going to go to that job. I'm going to do this next. And then, oh, maybe I should start my own business, right? Like most of us. She was straight. There was no middleman for her. There was that kind of urgency. I need to do this now. And all of us don't have that, right? So, when I think about, oh, well, what's my why? You know what? The 9 to 5 is not that great, right? You want to develop an opportunity to where you are, you know, helping others. You have some free time, which we all know in entrepreneurship, there really is no free time. Um, but you can build your own schedule. So instead of saying the free time, it's absolutely building your own schedule. It's what you want to be able to do. And this is what I want to be able to do, right? Build my own schedule and literally be able to help people. So if you get a chance, check out Ariel Parker, see what she's not Parker, sorry, Pryor, and see what she's been up to, and maybe check out what she has going next. But literally, the journey of what she went through. She even mentioned, and I forgot to write that down. What she mentioned was as a hairstylist using social media, um, she was getting, a few clients here and there, but she still posted every single day. And she was like, if you're going to see my face, you're going to see my client's face, you'll probably end up knowing who this person is or recognizing this person walk down the street, because she said she would post them almost every single day. If she had 4 clients, she was rotating those posts and different pictures of when she was doing their hair every single day. So people didn't even, unless they picked up that these were repeat photos, they didn't even know she didn't have a client at the time because she was posting. So, if anything, stay creative, stay consistent, and I'm going to try to follow my own advice here because I have to admit, social media is it's hard for a lot of people. Um, it's hard to stay consistent if you're not just used to being on that phone every day. Um, I think we'll probably see a lot more 20 something millionaires, right? It's almost like the opposite of the dot-com boom. You had these people, these young folks getting together right out of college or, in lieu of college, building these businesses, building these new apps or what have you, and somebody buying it, making them millionaire, billionaires. But I think this generation, the Gen Zers, this day and age, have the opportunities because the technology was evolving right in front of them, right? They already know how to use the apps, um, because they've had it since they were almost born, right? They have the knowledge of them. They know the latest and greatest. They're on top of the trends. So it's really they are already ahead of the game, right? And now with AI, it's literally going to be creating multiple, you know, probably just countless millionaires that are going to be in their 20s right now. As at my age, I'm playing catch up and trying to be in this every day when they were born into looking at this stuff every day. Um, but we're all going to get there. So I guess the uh, defining word for this video would be consistency. Just try to do it, if not every day, every other day. If not every other day, pick the amount of times a week that you do have where you can devote some extra time. If it's only Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, do it those days, repost the following days. Try to have some way of repurposing that info. And that's something that I'm going to be working on too. But yeah, people are going to get sick of you. Your friends are going to restrict you. Some people might block you, some people might unfollow you, but the ones that want to hear the info will hear the info. The ones that want to see the pictures will see the pictures. So I'm holding tight to that, and I think it's absolutely the truth. So do your best, see how far you can get, and just keep working and pushing through. Remember, there's no timelines. It's only as fast as you want to go. And when it starts to click, for everybody else, and to catch on to what you're doing, what you're selling, what you're buying. And when that happens, the sky's the limit. As always, do what you can and give yourself some grace. Till the next one.